Hello and welcome back to another video on how to make art. Today what we're going to be working on, we're going to be creating a 3D drawing using 1-point perspective and your name. Now I would suggest that you go ahead, type up your name on Word or something like that and print it off, and then you can trace the words over so it's more crisp. But let's start with what 1-point perspective is. 1-point perspective is basically all the diagonal lines going into one central point. And using this technique, it will make it look as if your drawing, or in this case, your name, is receding into the background. Or in other words, it's making it look like it is three-dimensional. So, first thing you want to do, and I'm using a pen for this. You will need to use a pencil so it's easier to erase your lines. However, a pencil doesn't like to show up well on the camera, so I am using a pen. What you want to do is first start off by saying where you want your vanishing point to be. And the vanishing point is where all of your lines are going to converge at. So I'm going to have my vanishing point be right there. And the next thing that you need is a ruler. So what you need to do, you need to line up your ruler with the vanishing point, and you need to go to the edge of the letters on your name, such as that right there. And you're going to draw a line from the vanishing point to the edge of your letter, just like that. And you'll need to do that for every one of the angles and lines that you see. Now that you will reach a point that your letters will actually pass behind or through another letter. At that point, you'll need to skip over that portion of the letter. For instance, this right here, it's still going to the vanishing point, but since the R passes in front of the G, I'm going to leave that part out. Now you also have the inside of the G right here, that's going to be behind the upper part of the G. So whenever you line that up, you only need to draw part of the line that you will see. Again, make sure that all your lines go to the vanishing point. So you draw your line like that. And whenever it hits the letter, just make it stop. I'm going to finish up the G right here. And again, I'm making it stop right at the R because we're not going to see it past that. And the final mark for the G is right down here. Now you are going to continue this with every letter in your name. So I'm going to go ahead and do that really quick so you can see what I am talking about. Okay, now something that I would like to point out. As you can see, I did not include the line for this part of the A and the end part right there, as well as the line right there. And the reason why is because if I line up these lines to the vanishing point, you can see that this line will actually go inside of that Y, so you wouldn't actually see it. And the same thing is true with the inside portion of the A. Where the vanishing point is, if I were to draw a line from here up, it would actually fall inside of the letter A. So I would not add that in there. Now right now you can leave this as is and it would look like it's three-dimensional. However, we're going to take this a step further. What you need to do is you need to first find out or figure out how high up on the plane you want your letters to go. So I am going to measure from the top of my paper down to, let's say, let's say 2.5 inches. I'm going to put it at 2.5 inches from the top of my paper down to 2.5 inches. And I'm going to go over to the other side, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. At 2.5 inches, I'm going to make a mark. From here, I'm going to line up my ruler across my paper, and I'm going to draw a line across my letters. Now this is where having a pencil will really come in handy, because as you can see, these letters are curved. It would work perfectly fine with the A right here to leave that straight line across and the tops of the Y, but for the most part, these lines are not straight. They are curved. So at this point, if you have an eraser, you can go ahead and erase the top part. You don't need that anymore. Now what we're going to do, we're going to try to replicate this curve in the G right up here on that line. So I'm going to curve it up like this, hit that G, and bend it right back over. This is a straight line going down, so I'm just going to draw that straight line down. And look at that, my G is done. I'm going to jump over here and do the same thing for the R, and I can see the R kind of goes at a straight line up until this point right here, and it curves. So I'm going to come up here, right about that point, and I'm going to curve it down. And then this hooks in right about there and curves down to a point. And as you can see, I now have a three-dimensional R as well. So the A, as I said, this line and that line are both straight and flat, so we're going to leave those alone. This line, however, is going down at a diagonal. I'm going to try to make that same diagonal. We know it meets up with the corner of the R right there, so I'm going to meet it up right here and draw a straight line going down. And we're going to jump over to the other side, and we're going to draw exactly the same length line because it's the same length down over on this side from the top. And now we have a three-dimensional A as well. So the last one is the Y. As you can see, this line right here goes down a ways, but you can't actually see that because if you line up this ruler, that Y actually falls down inside of itself. So over here, you couldn't see that, but what you can see is this straight line. So I'm going to bring this straight line up to where it meets with the A, because we know that's where the bottom of it is, and I'm just going to draw a straight line up like that. And that right there is the corner of the Y. This comes down about midway, so I'm going to find about midway, which is about right here, and I'm going to draw this line going at that angle down right there. And right there we have a three-dimensional name. If you would like to leave it like this, you currently have your name projecting forward using one-point perspective. If you would like to go in and add in values or shading, you can do hatching, cross-hatching, shading, stimping like we did before in our previous videos. Or you can go back in and color it and make these different colors. But I hope you enjoyed this lesson on how to make a three-dimensional name using one-point perspective and a ruler. Thank you very much.